And we're going to go ahead and get started. I know a few more people are coming in, but that's okay. They'll catch us as we're running. This is 6 Weeks to Success. It is Lesson 5, The Science of Successful Farming. We've had a couple weeks break as we had a holiday here in between, and we have another one fast approaching. So just respecting everyone's time during the holidays and the fact that people are traveling and probably not wanting to be bothered with necessarily work or business related webinars and training and so forth. So we're getting started again with Lesson 5. Each of the prior sessions have been recorded, so if you'd like to request prior sessions that you may have missed, you can do that. I've got several people in the room. Can I get at least one person to give me a thumbs up or that they can hear me? I like to do that before I start. If one can hear, then that means I'm communicating to all. So if you could just, in the chat session or section below, you'll see the ability to type in, just say, I can hear or yes. Oh, there we go. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I got multiple answers. Thank you. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Hopefully, if you guys are licensees, and that could be for real estate, mortgage, or insurance, even commercial finance, even without a license, if you're selling solar, if you're doing anything out in the community, in the marketplace, it's good to be territorial about that. And you should all be farming or at least considering getting a farm started. And that's what we're going to talk about today, not just farming, because farming has been done, been there and done that many ways, and many people teach it different ways or provide instruction for different ways to farm. I am going to give you the science of successful farming in the next 30 to 45 minutes. I will not be long. You're not going to be here all night because it's not rocket science, but it is science. So with that, let's get started. So when we talk about farming, I need you to understand, this is my brand of farming, what I teach. Understand that there are two distinct and different types of farming. This is just the agenda, what we're going to cover, as I said, in the next 30 to 45 minutes here. So I'll run through that. It's not necessarily going to be in this order. I did advise in the email that I sent out, the announcement for this session, that you be prepared to take notes. I stand by that because this is an information-packed short session. Information-packed short session, and you're going to want to have recall afterwards, because this is the blueprint to get out there, start branding yourself, marketing, farming, prospecting, and claim a territory, develop your market share in your territory. So two distinct types of farming. They are geographical, and the geographic farm, which is what most of you are familiar with. If you've been in sales or real estate and you understand farming, you probably understand the geographic farm. We're going to cover that, but we're also going to cover the demographic farm, which is something that I feel is important and can be equally as fruitful or productive if done right. So we're going to get into that. The purpose of farming. What is the purpose of it? Farming activities, different things you can do within your farm to make up what I call the two touches, the two required or minimal touches per month in your farm territory. The optimal size. You don't want to take on more than you can chew. Sometimes you have to consider the size of the farm with regard to your budget, because if you're going to touch this farm twice per month, whether you're mailing items or walking the farm and distributing pieces, that's still going to be printing cost. So if you have a farm of 1,000 homes or 500 homes, that might be too big. I think it's too big of an area to be effective, and we'll get into why when I discuss that. And also, as I said, you've got budgetary considerations with regard to the size of your farm as well, because if you're going to be touching them twice per month, what is going to be the expense or cost of that? So we're going to talk about the optimal or most manageable size for a good farm. Expectations. Robert covered it in the call this morning. Actually, it's kind of coincidental that he touched on that. If you're a farmer, agricultural farmer and you plant a seed, you cannot expect to come out the next morning and see a 7-foot stalk or a tree or what have you. It just does not happen that way. So we're going to talk about what your expectations are and managing your expectations with regard to farming. Farm files is something that I'm not sure if other trainers talk about farm files, but I do because I think it speaks to the long-term effort of farming. So we're going to talk about what a farm file is, what the importance of a farm file is, and how you develop it, because it's not an instantaneous thing. It's something that you grow and develop for each contact record in the farm over time, and it gets fuller and fuller. So you're fleshing it out. Seeking strategic partnerships. And if you've heard any of my CRM sessions on farming before, you've heard me talk about seeking out and building strategic partnerships in the area and the benefits of that, especially from a standpoint of mitigating your overall costs. So we're going to discuss that today as well. Again, this is just the agenda. I'm going to go through each of these in detail for you as we move along. And then the ultimate payoff. What is the purpose? If the purpose is branding or establishing yourself in a territory, what is the payoff of doing this correctly? What is the payoff of executing a farming plan to the letter? What is the payoff? And then we'll talk about getting started. I'm talking about what you can do tomorrow if you don't currently have a farm, what you can do tomorrow to initiate that effort, what you can do if you've already got a farm, what you can do to maybe increase or boost the efforts in the activities that you're doing so you can boost the reward and the payoff. So that is the agenda of the session. I am recording the session, so I will have it in the archive. Like I said, it's going to be a very information-packed session. I recommend strongly that you take notes, and then I'll provide the link as well after it's rendered and uploaded to our Elk Grove University, our EGU YouTube channel, so you can rewatch it and have the benefit of getting this information repeatedly if that's what it takes for you. So starting with geographic farm, figure we start with the most common, what most of you are most likely more familiar with. The geographic farm is a boundaried territory, an area. So I don't mean boundaried like it's got walls. I mean boundaried just geographically. If you think of maybe from a real estate development perspective, you think so a territory is bounded. It's a subdivision or a master planned community, whatever it may be. And generally that territory is going to be, or that neighborhood or subdivision is going to be a lot larger than you actually need. So you want to take a section of that boundary territory. So let's say you've got a 1,200 home or a 900 home or a 750 home subdivision. You want to pick a territory or section within that territory that you're going to call and consider your farm. I can't stress enough again that there is an optimal size to a farm, and you don't really want to exceed that range. I'll state it as a range when I get to that, but you don't want to exceed it, and there's many reasons. As I said, there's cost and budgetary considerations, effort, the ability to actually exert the physical effort to do the activities across the farm. If it's too big, you're not going to be able to, for instance, walk the farm on a Sunday or over the course of a weekend. And get to each of the homes, which could be potential business. Your farm should be a localized, closed-off area in your on paper. Again, we're not talking about walls here. We're just talking about a defined community or area. I recommend if you're living in a neighborhood, whether you're a homeowner or renting, if you're in a neighborhood that makes sense for your business, single-family homes, whether it's an area of renters or neighborhood of renters or owners, that's something you should consider as well. But I often recommend that agents start right in their own backyard. There's instant familiarity. If you've been living there for a while, you know, hopefully or presumably, several of your neighbors. They know you. And the most important aspect of that is the familiarity, the fact that you've got a strong working knowledge of this neighborhood, the schools, the area businesses, the home values, hopefully, the typical family makeup and so forth. And I'm skipping down here. These are the things that you should be aware of regarding your farm territory, whether it's your neighborhood or not. If it's not your neighborhood, then you should be a quick study and learn these things and know these things about your area. Your farm is your area of expertise. This is the area that you've deemed to be your area of specialty, and you're going to convey that to the residents within the farm, and you're going to gain market share. In order to do that, you've got to convince the people that, yeah, you're the expert about anything real estate or mortgage or what have you in this neighborhood. And that's property values, turnover rates. How often do people buy and sell in this neighborhood? Is this one of those neighborhoods where people get in it and they never sell? Those are great neighborhoods, but not great for business, especially if it's real estate business. If you're a real estate agent and people typically hold on to these homes at a very low turnover rate, then you probably want to pick a different neighborhood. Now that might be good or okay for mortgage, because as people continue to hold on to the home, you're going to have presumably multiple opportunities to refi and get refi business. But again, you want to look for areas with more moderate to higher turnover, so that inventory is constantly or consistently turning. That allows you the ability to get buy sides and sell sides and make money in real estate and mortgage. You should understand the family makeup and the configuration of the home. So is this territory predominantly 3-2 starter homes? Are we talking about seniors, empty nesters? Is this a neighborhood with young families, multiple kids? You should understand the makeup of your neighborhood or your territory. Area schools, so elementary, preschool, high school, middle school. What is the predominant? And I say this because most communities or neighborhoods, even if they're older, they're still master plan communities. So knowing this about the neighborhood speaks a lot to the makeup of the neighborhood. Area businesses, that's important as well, and we'll get to that because you're going to seek some strategic relationships and partnerships with these area business owners as you are all trying to reach the same clientele. So let's continue on. I'm going to minimize the my screen here on the side, so I'm not going to be able to see your questions. But I will check periodically. So if you have a question, go ahead and type it in. I will get to it. I'll just open the screen periodically and check from time to time so that I am getting to your questions. So demographic farming. We talked about geographic farming, and that's the real meat and potatoes of farming, so to speak. But as we talk about the demographic side of farming, I'm talking about, the word I love to use is the aggregators. The aggregators, that's what I call them. I don't know what other people call them. Like I said, I don't even know if demographic farming is something that other folks teach. I've never heard of it. I'm sure I didn't invent it, but it's in my book. And it's something I just love to address. The demographic farm is prospecting to the aggregators. I call these people other professionals, service providers, lawyers, different types of lawyers. So you can talk about divorce attorneys or specialists. You can talk about probate specialists or attorneys, tax attorneys, CPAs. These are other service providers and professionals, not necessarily related to your business, but I call them the aggregators because they have the clients. So in a demographic farm, you're not marketing to individual end users, if you will, or clients. You're marketing to the professionals who aggregate such clients. So if I'm talking about a divorce attorney that you may be including in your demographic farm may have 45 clients, maybe even more, maybe 100 clients. By marketing to that single attorney or that single law firm, you have the potential or the ability then to reach all of those clients. So it's about developing relationships with the aggregators of your prospects. So you can find your prospects out in the marketplace. If you're in a geographic farm, each home represents a prospect. There's a homeowner or homeowners within that residence that you're marketing directly to. In a demographic farm, however, you're not marketing necessarily directly to your clients, your eventual client. You're marketing to and trying to build strategic relationships with these professionals as the aggregators, because they can grant you the access to a large number of clients, large number of potential clients. They're also a great source of referral business, because if you develop the relationship with these providers, then you could become the go-to real estate person, or the go-to mortgage person, or the go-to insurance person for that lawyer, for that CPA, or whatever it might be, so that when they're speaking with a client who has such a need, guess who gets the phone call? You do. And that's based on your ability to do demographic farming to a specific number of folks, a specific category. I don't recommend that you demographically farm everybody, so pick one. We've got some agents here at ERS who specialize in probate. Great. So then obviously you want to have a demographic farm that consists of a large list of probate attorneys, and you want to market to them and promote to them regularly and develop relationships with those probate attorneys. So it's a good way to maybe have a niche or create a niche for yourself. The ability to co-brand. You have a common purpose. Obviously, they're looking to provide the greatest possible service in their arena, in their lane, to their client. If you can present a value-added benefit to the client. So in other words, if I'm the attorney and you're marketing to me, what you want to convey to me is that you represent or can bring a value-added benefit to my client. Otherwise, what's the point of me introducing them to you? What's the point of me referring my clients to you? Because if you provide a terrible service, that makes me look bad. I could lose a client because of you. So you've got to convince me, and this is what you're marketing to in the demographic farm. Your messaging should be consistent with your effort to let the target know that you bring a value-added benefit to the table, not for them, but for their client, which ultimately benefits them and their business. You want to seek to receive and give long-term benefit. Again, just like a geographic farm, we're going to get into managing expectations, but this is not a short time or short-term gain. This is a long-term effort for a large long-term gain, and you should look for that in terms of your expectations of what you should receive from either type of farm, demographic or geographic. But you should also look to give long-term benefit, and that's particularly important when talking about a demographic farm. So the activities, a demographic farm is a little bit different. A geographic farm, as I said, is a boundaried territory or area. So it's a subdivision, a neighborhood, an area that you can go, it's tangible. You can go visit it, walk it. Your demographic farm is a little different. You could be dealing with attorneys or professionals or service providers in the Bay Area or further, Southern California. Modesto, Fresno, somewhere south of here or north. As long as you're licensed to do business in that territory, you can have a demographic farm which really spans a large area. So it's not about geography or boundaries. You can have a list of 100. You can have 15 in the Bay Area, another 20 in the South Bay, and the rest here locally in the greater Sacramento area if that's where you are. Because you're mainly messaging to them via mail, drip email, and phone call. You want to touch them just like in a geographic farm. You want to have 2 touches per month, and we're going to get into that as well. But you're going to want to have 2 touches per month. But you can't physically go walk this farm if you're following what I'm saying. You can set appointments for your local professionals and service providers within your demographic farm. You can have what Robert Doe likes to call A-type meetings, your power meetings. You do want to visit these folks if they're local to you, even if they're in the Bay Area. You know, it's worth the drive because, as I said, you're not driving to the Bay Area or the South Bay or what have you to talk to or approach one client or for the potential of doing business with one person. These are the aggregators. Remember that. So yeah, it's worth a drive to the Bay Area if you're talking to a law firm or a lawyer who's willing to work with you, who's got 200 clients or 100 clients or even 50 clients. That is a day well spent. So understand the reward, the potential reward, the effort, effort versus reward. So it's worth it to expend the effort to reach these aggregators because they're sitting on a mountain of clients. So it's worth it. So set those appointments with the local and slightly non-local service providers on your list, and include that as one of your 2 touches. Set some appointments for yourself and go take these meetings and represent yourself. But the phone call is going to be probably the most powerful or impactful that you can do relatively quickly. And one of the big differences between that I like to point out, because I want you to have complete understanding of farming. Farming is a hugely beneficial effort. I think one of the primary, not major, but one of the primary differences between demographic and geographic farming is budget. Obviously, a geographic farm, you've got some costs with regard to printing materials. If you take leave-behind pieces, as we call them, out to your farm as you're walking your farm on a Saturday or a Sunday or a Wednesday or whatever. But farming, geographic farming, is really something you can do free of any cost if you really had to. So if you're just getting started, you've got an incredibly minimal budget. You can farm a geographic territory with little or no cost. You can actually get your butt out there and walk your farm. You can door knock. You can leave your business card. You know, even if you can't afford to print a massive amount of marketing pieces, you can leave your business card, which you should presumably have, and then you can, as I said, door knock as you're walking to the farm. Sometimes you have people in their garage with the door up. They might be doing something in the yard. Go ahead and approach those folks and talk to them. That costs you absolutely nothing except your time and a little bit of shoe leather, as they call it, but relatively cost-free. Demographic farming, however, can be costly because you've got to incur printing costs and postage costs as you're primarily reaching them through U.S. mail. As I said again, this is not a farm that you can necessarily walk geographically. You can set appointments and meetings, those A-type meetings, as I said, but you cannot expect to go out on a day and maybe approach 200 of your prospects on your demographic farm list. In a geographic farm, you walk the farm on one day, you can literally go to 200 to 250 homes, especially if you're walking with a partner. In a demographic farm, that's just not the case. So we've got to reach out to them via U.S. mail, and that has a cost and an expense. The phone call really doesn't, but just be mindful of the fact that when you talk about a demographic farm, you're basically talking about a U.S. mail list. So you want to keep that number, again, manageable so that you're respecting your budgetary considerations. So what is the objective or the purpose of farming? Let's look at Coca-Cola or Nike, even better. Better example is Nike. The swoosh symbol, which I'm sure every one of you know, not only you on this webinar right now, but probably every person or the majority of the people on the planet. I can't say every person, but the majority of the people on the planet. You can go to any village in any small or even a third world country and, stand in the center of the village with a whiteboard and draw the swoosh and point to your feet, indicating your shoes, and people will say, oh, Nike, or Nike, whatever they might say. People understand that. That is the end result of branding. Branding is not marketing. Branding is not promoting. It's not prospecting. Completely different animal. I need you to understand that branding is completely different from marketing. Marketing, I like to say, is an effort to exact a short-term result or a midterm result. Advertising with a call to action, an immediate call to action, is an effort to exact an immediate result. So you advertise, that's the now. You market and prospect, that's what we primarily spend most of our time doing. But farming is not a marketing or an advertising activity. It can be, meaning that you can intersperse marketing and advertising messaging and messages as you reach out to your farm. But the act of farming is not advertising or marketing. It's not short or midterm. It is long term. It is branding. And that's how you should look at branding. Branding is a long term. So that notoriety or that recognition or familiarity that Nike and Coca-Cola, Microsoft, Facebook even, and these companies have achieved cost millions of dollars. And it's because there are millions of people behind it in terms of the brand recognition. Straight branding for pay or pay for branding. You look at companies like Nike, yeah, they're recognized in every part of the world by the majority of the inhabitants of planet Earth, but the fact is that cost them hundreds of millions of dollars to achieve, and it took them decades to do so. Coca-Cola, hundreds of millions of dollars spent in the branding effort over decades, scores of years to achieve that type of notoriety and branding. What I'm suggesting and what I'm telling you is that farming is a branding effort, however, it's not global. So what you can do in a localized geographic boundary territory is the same thing that Nike and IBM and Coca-Cola and these massive Fortune 100 companies have done with hundreds of millions of dollars over decades and scores of years. You can achieve the exact same result in a localized area with a fraction, I mean a minimal fraction of the cost, and obviously a fraction of the time. So that's what we're going for. The purpose and objective of farming is branding. It's achieved over a localized area. It's achieved by being consistent and diligent and persistent. And what you're actually looking to achieve is a greater market share within that area, just like Nike does. They're battling other companies and competitors for global market share or larger market share over a global market or territory. The same thing with farming. You're just doing it over a localized area. So obviously it's not going to cost you hundreds of millions of dollars to brand yourself within a 200 to 300 home subdivision. It's obviously not going to take you scores of years to do so either. When we get into expectations, I'll cover it further, but I'll go ahead and give you a teaser now that what you should expect in terms of success in your farm, if you're doing it consistently, persistently, and diligently, what you're looking at is maybe an 18-month turn time. That's not to get a lead. Please understand, that would not be worth the effort. In 18 months, you should be able to be the well-renowned expert in a localized area, as I'm suggesting in a geographic farm, to where that every resident within your farm knows who you are, knows what you do, knows what you can do for them, the value-added benefit you bring to the service you provide, and they should have a good daily dowsing of your signs, your listing signs, or whatever it is you're marketing in that territory. You can achieve total market domination or dominance in that area if you do this correctly. You can be the go-to real estate or solar or mortgage or insurance professional in that localized area within 18 months. It is completely doable. I've seen it before, obviously. I've been doing this for 25, 26 years now. If you want testimony, I can arrange some for you. This is farming, and it can be extremely successful and fruitful. In terms of the cost, I've done CBAs or cost benefit analysis for folks, for agents before. I used to do that. But you're talking about 2 touches per month. Farming is not an expensive effort. It's not an expensive campaign. Like I said, it's shoe leather, time, effort, and energy, of course, and some interspersed with some cost. So you can do it in a localized area. And what we're talking about, again, is branding. Maintaining your dominance, so after you achieve it, you're maintaining it. So let's talk about understanding. Did I skip one? No, we're good. Understanding the processes of successful farming. So this slide's going to be sitting here for a moment because I'm going to address each one of these issues, and then we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. I told you it would not be long. We're already at about 30 minutes. So give me about 15 minutes to get through these key points right now, and then we'll talk about getting started as we conclude. So farming activities, you've heard me say it, 2 touches per month. In a geographic farm, your touches, as I said, can be walking the farm. Some people don't like the door knock, at least initially, until they know some folks, and that's okay. So your first manner of touch, and you should be taking notes, your first manner of touch as you're walking the farm can just be simply leaving a leave behind piece. As we call it. This can be a door hanger, a flyer, a postcard, and as I said, even just your business card. And you just approach each home in the farm. You walk up the driveway or the path, leave it on the front door, and go to the next home. It's good to walk your farm with a partner. You can cover more territory, and just from a safety perspective, especially for you ladies there, it's very important to consider safety at all times when walking your farm. I always recommend that you pair up either with another agent. So if you've got 2 agents, 2 real estate agents, and this is your farm, you guys help each other. So you walk your farm one weekend, and then you help her walk her farm the next weekend, so that you're both helping each other in 2 totally separate territories. Another option in this same regard would be to partner with a loan officer or someone who will walk the farm with you, who's going to have an interest in being branded within that territory as well. Just be safe out there, and understand that you are a stranger walking through a large territory. You always want to do it, obviously, in the daytime, but just be safe. But walking the farm is something you must do. Just partner up. One of the other touches in terms of walking the farm is to actually knock on the door. You knock on the door, someone comes to the door, you have a conversation. I'm not saying, break out and go in the backyard and have a barbecue. I'm just a brief 2-minute conversation at the door, just introducing yourself or reminding them who you are, why you're in the neighborhood, what you're doing today, what you're doing in the neighborhood. Should get that elevator pitch, as we call it, that 30 to 60 second pitch of yours honed down to a science, so that you can deliver that at the drop of a hat. So walking through the farm, door knocking is another way to go. When you door knock, by the way, you should always have something to hand them, a leave behind. So you deliver your pitch, have a brief conversation, what have you, and then leave something in their hands. Just something, so you always feel like, and they always feel like they're getting something from you. And it can be anything really, but I recommend an item of value. Not meaning it's got monetary value. I'm not saying cash value. What I'm saying, an item of value to them. Rate sheet, information consistent with or pertaining to their home, their neighborhood. It doesn't even have to be real estate or mortgage related or business related. It can be The fact that right outside the subdivision, the community center, they're having a father-daughter dance or something like that. You can be passing out something in that regard, just to show your familiarity and personal touch and contact or connection to this neighborhood. So that's another form of touch. So door knocking. Obviously, sending out mail pieces, postcards, that's another touch. So when you talk about the 2 touches required per month in your geographic farm, you can walk and leave behind pieces. You can walk and door knock. You can combine those 2 efforts. You can do a mail out to your entire farm once per month as well. You don't always have to walk the farm, but it's highly recommended that you do. Excuse me, that you're doing that at least once per month in combination with some other touch. So those are the 2 touches in the farming activities. As you develop farm files, and we're going to get to that in a second, you're going to have more information about each of the residences or homes within your farm. So you're going to be gaining more information, email addresses, phone numbers. As you gain more information, you'll be able to expand your repertoire of touches. So you'll be able to email once you have email addresses. You'll be able to call once you have phone numbers. That we're going to cover that in a second. The optimal size, I've kind of been tiptoeing around that because I wanted to save it for now so I could discuss it with a little bit more detail. The optimal size for a geographic farm is going to be 250 to 350 homes. Really don't want to get beyond that, and it's really less worthwhile if it's less than that. So that's the range, 250 to 350 homes. If you are really bold about it, you can go perhaps to 400, but I strongly recommend that you don't go any higher than that. 300 is a great farm. It's walkable in a day. And it's not going to break the bank in terms of mailing even if you're mailing your 2 touches per month, getting items for them, items of value and competence. So I think 300 is the optimal size. Now, talking about a demographic farm, again, that's going to be almost strictly consideration of budget, because your first several touches to this group will probably be mail. Of course, it's going to be the phone call. I recommend the same 2 touches per month for a demographic farm that I recommend for a geographic farm. It's just the manner of touch is going to be slightly different because it's going to be predominantly U.S. mail. If you can develop, again, your farm files for your demographic farm, then you can look to acquire, as time goes on, more and more information about each one of the contacts on your demographic farm list. But considering that, all things considered, I'd say the optimum size for a demographic farm, it's a wider range. I'm going to say 150 to 500. And that's strictly based on you and your budget, your ability to manage that number. So you could be at the 150 range or even 125, or you could be as high as 500. Again, I don't really recommend you go higher than that because you do want to, over time, remember this is not a short-term effort, over time you want to be able to speak with these folks, meet with these folks. So if you're getting beyond up there 400, 500 folks, that's a whole lot of people to meet and greet and talk to and touch in a personal or physical direct manner in a month. So just consider that. The expectations, something else I've also kind of tiptoed around, but giving it more address right now. Your expectations for your farming efforts, both geographic and demographic, but mainly we're talking about geographic. Again, 18 months. Within 18 months, you should be able to successfully or achieve successful branding over this localized territory as I'm defining it. You should absolutely expect to be the, and I mean the, service provider in your realm within your farm within 18 months. Short-term expectations, there really are none. The short-term expectation is that you get out there and you're getting the job done. You're building toward the eventual branding and market capture or market share that you hope to achieve on the long term. You can have midterm expectations. Farming, you're going to get leads. You will speak to folks who need your services or can use your services. So it's not a situation where you're waiting 18 months to bear fruit. If you're familiar with agricultural farming, within 18 months you get several harvests. But as the seed is cultivated more or the crop is more cultivated over time, your harvests get bigger and more robust. So you can expect, I say, within the first 6 months to actually get some deals out of your farming effort. That might be one deal, it might be 3 deals, it might even be 4. You might get a couple of listings and a couple of buyer opportunities within the farm. Within that first 6-month period. It's very realistic to expect that if you follow the farming model as I'm defining it. What I would say then is, even if it's one deal, understand that one deal, one closed transaction, especially in the area of real estate and mortgage, that number might need to be higher for insurance and solar or home services. But in the realm of real estate and mortgage, if you close one deal from your farm that originated from your farming efforts, you've paid for your farming effort probably for the next 3 years. It's just not that expensive, folks. So if you get a deal out of your farm, that money is equivalent to probably your farm costs for 3 to 4 years, which allows you to actually do more farming or even have a second farm, which is something I do talk about. You can have a second farm as long as you've got the budget and the time and the resources to be diligent about it. You can look to achieve branding in more than one area. I just say, obviously, you want to start in one area and work towards maybe a second farm. But you can have different farms for different niches. So if you're dealing with first-time home buyers, for example, if you want to make that your niche, then you want to find a farm territory that is more a territory or a neighborhood of renters than owners, because you want to market to the renters and perhaps convey to them the benefits of owning versus renting. So you can make that your niche, and that would be how you'd want to target or set up your farm, is to ensure that you're dealing and messaging to renters, not homeowners, if you want to be a first-time home buyer specialist. If you want to help seniors, empty nesters, not necessarily seniors, but empty nesters, or move up or move down, you can select your farm that way. And when I talk about getting started, I'm going to show you how easy that is to do and set up with a little bit of help. Seeking strategic partnerships, understanding that the pizza shop outside of your geographic farm, or the restaurant, Chinese restaurant, or the dry cleaners, or whatever it might be, that those businesses outside your farm, they're targeting and looking, and they are sitting there in that geographic location to service and serve or provide for the inhabitants of your farm, the residents within your farm. So you're both looking to reach out to and reach and hopefully do business with the same folks. So when we talk about seeking strategic partnerships, I'm talking about the area business owners surrounding your farm. Why not go into that restaurant owner and speak with them and offer them the ability to co-brand or produce co-branded marketing pieces with you? You produce the pieces, you offer them space in that piece. Maybe it's a flyer where they have one side, you have the other. Getting a little bit of information from them, maybe some graphics, a logo or whatever, you can create the piece. You can print the piece. You just ask them to cover half the cost. So your pitch would be something like, I'm a real estate expert with ERS, Elite Realty Services, and I've picked this area to be my area of specialty. This is my area of expertise. I market to these folks diligently and consistently. I'm marketing to them at least 2 times per month. What I'm suggesting is, obviously, these are potential clients or customers for you. Maybe we should work together maybe we can work together to reach out to these folks. I prepare pieces, a newsletter or postcard, what have you. You can show them some of your marketing pieces and show them how easily it can be done. The fact that you can just simply co-brand a piece that you're already sending out anyway if they're willing to cover half the cost. Maybe they can even do coupons or something, buy one, get one, or whatever coupon or sales or specials they've got going. Another way to do that is with a newsletter. If you have a one-on-one partnership, then you can cover or mitigate your cost by 40 to 50%. If you produce a monthly newsletter and you have a page, or you have interspersed throughout the newsletter, and I'm not talking about a book, I'm talking about just a couple pages, the equivalent of a double flyer, if you will. Where you've got space for some of the local business owners or businesses to put an ad, a coupon, whatever it might be, some sort of call to action to come into that business. And you can collect not half, but some of the cost, just a contribution, and you can say just a contribution for the to help you cover the expenses of generating a newsletter. If you can get that from 3 or 4, maybe 6 businesses, whatever the number might be, you might actually end up mitigating your costs to the extent to where you have none, so that your marketing and your, at least the marketing pieces component of your farming plan has no cost, because the cost is being covered by the contributors or these strategic partners from outside the neighborhood or around the neighborhood, I mean. So that's something that's well worth doing. It's again, just one of those little things that, if you have a monthly marketing budget or cost with regard to the farm of, I don't know, $100. If you can find business owners and you can mitigate that by $60, now you have a $40 cost. What can you do with that extra $60? Well, you can do a lot. You can add other marketing pieces. You can add other marketing efforts. You can boost your efforts. You can get maybe a billboard or a local bus bench ad or something else, something other than, something alternative to just the standard 2 touches. Again, outlaying your dominance in the market, so that when people come out of their homes, they drive through the neighborhood, they see your listing signs, they see you on the bus bench, they go into the pizza shop to pick up pizza for dinner, and there you are again. Your business cards or pieces are on the counter. This is what I'm talking about. This is how you saturate a territory with yourself. It's a predominance of you in a localized area. That's what this is all about, and strategic partnerships are a great way to make that happen, and also mitigate the cost of making that happen. So the ultimate payoff, I think I've pretty much covered that. The ultimate payoff, as we're talking about here, is that you achieve market share in this area, that you are the provider in your realm in that area, that there are no others. Now, of course, within your farm, you might see a listing sign pop up from another agent. People have families. They might be somebody's brother. You never know. So yeah, you're not going to get every listing or every buy-side opportunity within your farm, but you are absolutely going to be the predominant expert in your field in that area. I guarantee you that. And I really shouldn't, but I do. I guarantee you that if you do this correctly and diligently, you will achieve that kind of Nike market share and branding within your little localized territory. Little tip for you is that even when you do see listing signs pop up from other agents in your farm, you want to take that, take advantage of that and distribute your just listed, just sold postcards. You should be doing that anyway. Every time you get a listing or you sell a home within your territory, do a radius mail out to that area of 100 homes around that, or your entire farm, and say just listed, just sold, just listed, just sold. Sold in, went pending in 7 days, I can sell your home too. Whatever it might be, you should be consistent with that. Don't do it sometimes. Don't do it part-time. Do it all the time. And take advantage of other agents' listings. You can hold open houses. You can contact that listing agent and say, I work this territory. I'm pretty familiar with it. I know many of the residents. I market a couple times per month. I'm very familiar with the neighborhood, and I would love to hold your home open, maybe do an open house on the weekend. And I don't know too many listing agents who would say no to that unless they're already going to hold the house open, or if perhaps the homeowner doesn't want to have open houses, they don't want people traipsing through their home. But if it's up to the agent, I don't know too many agents who would tell you no. So even if it's not your listing, it's in your territory. You need to be firm and dominant in your territory, which means when a listing sign pops up, you need to be on it in some kind of way. You need to be talking to the neighbors surrounding that home. You need to be holding that house open for the benefit of yourself and the listing agent. You need to be active with regard to all activity in your field, in your territory. That's how you establish dominance. The ultimate payoff is branding, market share, yes, but it's a much bigger long-term effort than that. Even when people come into the neighborhood, say you've been farming a neighborhood for 2 years now, most of the inhabitants, they know you, they've seen your signs, they've seen you walking through the neighborhood at least enough to wave to you and say, you know, hi, as they're in their driveway and you're walking your farm. They know you. New residents coming into the neighborhood will quickly get to understand that you are the guy or gal for this area. It doesn't take a long time. So when you achieve marketing and branding in this manner, it is long-term, it is permanent, and it continues to pay off. I think the ultimate payoff is that the payoff is continual. And that's really where I just come off on the ultimate payoff. The ultimate payoff is that you're doing this effort, but the payoff is going to be continual, meaning that into the future you're still going to be harvesting the fruits from your work and your labor in this farm territory. And then, yes, by all means, go out and stake your claim in a second territory. The idea is do what you can manage and maintain, but do something. It's a good segue to getting started as I look to wrap up. Getting started, if you're a real estate agent or a loan officer, or insurance agent, solar sales and in-home services division, whatever you're selling or doing with ERS, you can begin or stake out a farm with the assistance of title. Title reps come to the branch, whatever branch you're affiliated with. If it's not Elk Grove, title reps come to branches all the time. They can't stay away. It's their primary source of business. They're here, you see them, they bring us the pads, the pens, the calendars, kind of limited thanks to RESPA on what they can bring. Believe me, back in the day, we used to get golf outings. Not so much anymore. It's illegal. But they do bring little useful things around the office, mainly just to have something in hand because they're seeking your business as a branch. Now, how that benefits you is that title is a huge consolidator of public information. They have a customer service division, and I'm talking every title company. Every title company has a a customer service division, which is very rich in data and can provide that data literally at the click of a mouse or a few keystrokes on the keyboard. And what they will do is you sit down with a title rep, or even do it over the phone or via email. You tell them what you're looking for. So if it's going to be identifying your farm, then it's going to be talking about, let's say you start in your own neighborhood. Give them your home address and tell them you're looking to establish a farm. You want owner occupied. These are folks that own the home. Or if you want to specialize with first-time home buyers, you want non-owner occupied, but you want that in a radius of, say, 350 to 400 homes around this address. Give them your address. They will generate a mailing list for you, which is going to be your farm. They'll have what are the beginnings of your farm file, which would be the property address, the homeowner information, basically all that stuff that's public data on title. They will not necessarily have phone numbers, and of course there'll be no email addresses. These are the things you look to accumulate as you build and develop and expand or flesh out your farm files. You're adding more information to each record in your database with regard to your farm. Number of kids in the house, the ages of the kids. These are things that title's not going to be able to give you, but they can give you enough to get started. They'll give you that list via email and a spreadsheet. They'll give you that list on a disk. They'll give you that list however you want it. They'll also give you peel and stick labels for your first mail out. I think every farm should begin with an introduction letter, a letter of introduction, introducing yourself, letting the residents know, hey, my name is Sally Agent. I'm with Elite Realty Services. I'm actually a resident of your community. I've chosen this neighborhood as my area of expertise. From time to time, you'll see me walking the farm or walking through the neighborhood. Don't call it a farm. You'll see me walking through the neighborhood, and hopefully I'll be able to bring value to you as a resident of this community. You can say whatever you want, but basically you get the point. You want to have an intro letter. Title will provide you peel and stick address labels for your first mail out, whether you're sticking that label on an envelope with a letter inside or you're sticking that label on a postcard for your first mail out. You can get this from Title. And by the way, folks, there's no charge. Title does not charge you for this service or this information or providing this for you. They just hope that obviously as you're working that territory and you're getting listings or buy-side closing or opportunities within that farm area, that you'll bring that business to them for title and escrow. But there's no charge for the information, no charge to get started. You just have to identify the area, but be smart about it. You don't want to be messaging first-time home buyer messages to a community of empty nesters who've owned their home for the last 15 years. They're not first-time home buyers. So you want to make sure that as you set up the farm and you select the territory of the farm, that it's appropriate to the marketing that you want to do, that it's appropriate to the niche you want to fit into, so that it's appropriate to how you want to build your business. So be mindful of that. Title can even help you in that regard. They have all kinds of information. They can give you average annual turnover for your farm area or your selected farm. They can give you obviously home values, average home values in a territory. They can give you a wealth of information. And by the way, if you start with a territory that doesn't fit, as you get more and more information from Title, that doesn't fit your niche or what you want to do, pick a different area. You don't go ahead and select that farm and change your motif. Don't do that. Just pick a different area. You want to pick and start with an area that's going to be perfectly fit and suitable for what you want to do as a professional in your arena in that area. So getting started is as simple as contacting your branch manager, sales manager, what have you, team leader, upline, and then letting them know that, hey, I want to get a farm started. Can you refer me to a title rep that can help me get that done? And that's it. It's that simple. It starts with a very simple intro to a title rep. Doesn't matter what title company. If you have a preference, then seek to speak with the title rep for that company. If it's Fidelity, for example, or Orange Coast, or whatever it might be, because again, they're doing this to hopefully get your business. So if you want to be true to that per se, then get with a title rep for a company that you prefer, that you actually would envision bringing business to, or maybe the one that you've done business with before, and you've got a favorite escrow officer there, whatever it might be. So think about that, consider that. I think that pretty much covers it. If you have any questions, like I said, this session has been recorded. You'll be able to view it again, and hopefully you took good notes. This is all originating from my second book, The ABCs of Prospecting. It's available at Amazon. It lays out this complete prospecting plan, complete farming plan. It's basically a manual. It's not heavy reading. It's very light reading. It's just a manual for you to get started with good CRM and excellent farming for ultimate success. So I'm going to check the questions now. If you have any, go ahead and please post them now. I'll take a look here. I've got a question from Garth. Garth Jensen, I'm sorry if you're listening. I don't know how to do that. So, good question. That's not something I know how to actually do. He's asking a technical question about the webinar software, and I'm not sure how to do what he's requesting. Anyone else have any questions about the content? Oh, Garth's saying that wasn't him. So someone else asked that question. Okay. All right, well, I think, as I said, that covers it. The session is being recorded. I will render it shortly after we conclude here, and it will be available by link to the YouTube channel within the next 2 hours. Probably 1 hour if I just go ahead and get it done. And then you'll be able to view it. Or if you came in halfway and you'd like to see what you missed, the first part, then certainly that's a good reason to make the request. Just send me an email and ask for the link for the webinar, and I'll be able to send that to you. So that's it, folks. Thank you for attending, and we will be concluding the 6 Weeks to Success course curricula in the next session, session 6. Thank you.